Hi, my name is Tanya, and before we start talking about genetic disorders, it's first important to discuss how these genetic disorders are classified. And the first way genetic disorders are classified is either by autosomal or sex-linked. So sex-linked disorders can be either X or Y linked, but for the purposes of this presentation, we will be focusing on X-linked genetic disorders. In a normal human, each cell contains 23 pairs of chromosomes. 22 of these pairs are called autosomes, and one pair, or the 23rd pair, is called the sex-linked chromosomes. And the sex-linked chromosomes for a female are an X and an X, and a male it's an X and a Y chromosome. So both autosomes and sex-linked chromosomes carry genes, and these genes can be passed on to offspring, and they are both susceptible to mutations. The next classification to consider is whether the mutation is dominant or recessive. In general, you can have 4 different combinations. You can have autosomal dominant, autosomal recessive, X-linked dominant, and X-linked recessive. For the purposes of this presentation, I'll be focusing more on X-linked recessive inheritance. So autosomal dominant mutations require only one copy of the gene in each cell to be mutated in order to produce the disorder. Whereas in autosomal recessive mutations, both copies of the mutated gene are needed in order for the individual to express the disorder. And the genetic inheritance I will be talking about in length during this presentation is X-linked recessive mutations. So for X-linked recessive disorders, the mutation in the gene is carried on the X chromosome. So in this kind of mutation, males are the primary individuals at risk or affected, as they only have one X chromosome, which they receive from their mother. Females are more often the carriers and are generally considered the carriers of X-linked recessive disorders, because in order for a female to present with an X-linked recessive disorder, they would need to have received 2 mutated genes, one from each parent. So I'm next going to start talking about hemophilia and the different types.